Hey everybody, I'm Jeremy Fisher, and this is lesson 1.5 in this series. I realized when I got to the end and editing everything that to cover some basics between part 1 and part 2 would probably be a good idea. Just like parts of the guitar and some real basic stuff. But I wanted to get into just playing music right off the top in part 1, so I kind of forgot about it. Let's just go over the basic parts of the guitar here that we're going to need to be familiar with in order to get through this series. So this is the body of the guitar. It's on an acoustic, it's an empty cavity. On an electric, it's probably solid. It might have a hollow inside to it. This is where the resonance of the sound comes from, and where you might put pickups on an acoustic or an electric. This long thing here is called the neck, and at the top of the neck, this part is called the headstock. There are 6 strings on a guitar, and there's a peculiar thing about them, but we'll just go over what we call them. They are from the thickest one is highest up off the ground. It's the lowest in sound. So it's the lowest in sound, but we call it the 6th string. The next one is the 5th, the 4th, 3rd, 2nd string, and 1st string. So it can be a little bit of an adjustment for your brain at first because logically it doesn't make sense that the lowest string has the highest number and the highest sounding string has the lowest number. But that's the way it is, and that's the way that we've been doing it. So, and it's the way we will do it. So it's good to memorize that and just internalize. The lowest sounding string has the highest number of 6, and the highest sounding string has the lowest number of 1. So I'm going to try in this series to refer to the strings by numbers instead of by the note names, because I'm going to use the note names for the chords and some other things. On the neck, we have this thing called the fretboard, and the fretboard is where we're going to be putting our fingers to make chords and play notes. And as we go up a string, let's start with the 6th string open. Basically what we're doing is we're just shortening the string to get a higher sound. A shorter string at the same tension will sound higher. So as we move up the fretboard toward our body, the sound gets higher. And there are dots on the fretboard. Some guitars are different than others, but generally speaking, and the reason I like to teach with this one is because it's fairly standard. There's a dot at the 3rd fret, a dot at the 5th fret, a dot at the 7th fret, a dot at the 9th fret, and 2 dots at the 12th fret. And what's special about the 12th fret is that is the octave above each open string. Okay, so it's really important that that sort of has its own identifier because it's an important reference point for us. Maybe your guitar has this or maybe it doesn't, but mine does. On this side of the neck, the dots are facing me, so I can see them, because when I'm looking down at my guitar, I don't see the actual fretboard like you see looking front on at my guitar. So that can be a helpful thing as well. If you're still looking to purchase your first guitar, that's something you might consider, is those really useful, practical reference points of the dot markers on top of your neck, your fretboard here. Okay, and then I said this is called the headstock, and these things on the headstock sticking out, the sides, if you're on an electric, certain guitars like a Telecaster will have all 6 on the same side. Mine have 3 on each side. These are the tuning machines that will help you tune your guitar. I have another lesson on tuning that you can find on my YouTube page, but real basic, if I loosen it, the string is gonna sound lower, and if I tighten it, it's gonna sound higher. So experiment slowly turning your machine heads very slowly, because sometimes a small amount can turn it a lot, and you don't want to break strings, you don't want to tighten them too much. But experiment with tightening and loosening just to get a feel for how your guitar responds to turning the machine heads. This part down here is called the bridge, and it's where the strings attach to the bottom of the body and to the soundboard. This is a really important part of the guitar because the integrity of your bridge and the quality of it will affect the quality of the sound you get out of it. All right, just a couple more things here. One is to play with fingers or to play with a pick. It's really up to you. If you don't have a pick and you do have a guitar and you're just looking to get started right now, nothing wrong with using your fingers. You can use your thumb. You can use the nails on your thumb and finger. And you can also use a guitar pick. I have a couple different picks here, and I'm going to show you what they are and how I hold them. So I have a light gauge pick, which I really like for strumming. And I have a heavy gauge pick, a thick pick, that I like for picking out melodies, because it's got a lot less flex in it, and I just find it easier to be precise and just get a quick response on the note that I'm trying to hit. But when I strum with this, it can sound a little bit harsh. And likewise, when I pick with this, it's just a little too loosey-goosey and it's not giving me the response that I like. That's just me. I'm sure some people use a light pick to play fast, leads and stuff like that. It's totally a personal preference thing, but I just thought I'd give you a starting point for what you might want to consider when you're choosing a pick or some picks to get started. Speaking of strumming, let's go over how I hold my pick. So I'm gonna put my finger out like this. The pick is gonna lie between this last knuckle and the tip of my index finger on my right hand. And I'm gonna put the pick down like this so that the point of the pick is perpendicular to this part of the finger, just like that. And then my thumb is gonna go on top and it's gonna be crossed over like this. See how it makes kind of an X? I don't know where the focus is best here, but, and I'm almost making like an okay kind of sign. And I wanna keep a nice loose wrist. I'm not using a ton of arm motion, a little bit of arm motion. And I'm also it's not so much a side to side wrist motion that I use when I strum. It's almost like a turn, it's a bit of a flick and a little bit of a turn, like you're turning a key in the ignition or unlocking a door. That is, if you just hold your hand out like this and do that turning motion with a little bit of wrist moving up and down. It's a combination of the two. That's how I get a feel for strumming that I like. So downstrokes, when I use the word downstroke in strumming, that means I'm starting up here and I'm strumming from the 6th string, the lowest sounding string, to the highest. And when I'm doing an upstroke, it's the opposite of that. I'm coming back up. I'm still holding the pick the same way, but I'm raking with the other side of it. Downstroke, upstroke. And then a couple other quick things. You can mute by just slapping on the guitar. You can stop all the strings from ringing out and make a nice percussive sound if you like. And you can also keep a mute down, and you can pick this is called palm muting, where you can pluck, but you're still muting with this part of your hand on the strings. All right, that's it for the basics. Now on to lesson number 2.